Yo, 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 mic check. Hope everybody good out there. Hope y'all can hear me loud and clear. Y'all already know what we about to get into. Y'all know what this video is about. I'm about to show y'all how the so-called white people were slaves in the United States. A lot of people think that's hard to believe. They can't believe it. What? White people used to be slaves? Man, you must be out your rabbit ass mind. That's what a lot of people think, you know. But yeah. I don't have much time to deal with y'all today. I don't have much time to show this information. Got about a cool hour, and I still might be a little late to what I got to go do. But yeah, about to put it down real quick, show y'all what I'm talking about. So let me go ahead and get into some screen sharing to show y'all how these white folks were slaves when they first came over here off the boat. So ain't no way in the hell they supposed to be running nothing. All right, let's get to the screen share. First thing I'm gonna do is run across this right here. Then I'm gonna show y'all the video. Hope my audio is all right. Hope everybody can hear me good. All right. So y'all see this encyclopedia, the Virginia Encyclopedia from Virginia Humanities, all right? Let me get my mouth. How everybody doing out there? Get my goddamn mouth up out here, y'all. Give me a second. Give me a second. Get my goddamn mouth untangled. How y'all doing out there, though? About to get into it. I ain't really heard too many people giving no real solid information on how the Europeans were slaves. But I'm hoping to do that today. Give you some information that you can go examine for yourself to show that that's the case. All right. The convict labor during the colonial period, right? Just a summary. It said in 1615, English courts began to send convicts to the colonies as a way of alleviating England's large criminal population. So they had a large criminal population over there. This practice was unpopular in the colonies. And by 1697, colonial ports refused to accept convict ships. In response, Parliament passed the Transportation Act of 1718, all right, to create a more systematic way to export convicts. Instead of relying on merchants to make arrangements on their own to ship felons to the colonies, the British government subsidized the shipment of convicts through a network of merchants, giving a contract for the service to one individual at a time. Between 1700 and 1775, approximately 52,200 convicts sailed for the colonies, more than 20,000 of them to Virginia. Most of these convicts landed and were settled along the Potomac and Rappahannock rivers. Although many were unskilled and thus put to work in agriculture, particularly tobacco production, others with skills were sold to tradesmen, shipbuilders, and iron manufacturers, and for other similar occupations. Now, I just want to point out, y'all, of all these so-called Negro slaves over here doing all the work, what the hell they talking about? They ain't had nobody do all this shit already? Just use my common sense. It's a production and for other similar occupations. It's a convict laborers could be purchased for a lower price than indentured white or enslaved African laborers. Okay? And because they already existed outside society's rules, they could be more easily exploited. Who's easily exploited? The convicts. All right. What did it say? Well, Matt, it's okay. Say, nevertheless, Virginia tried repeatedly to pass laws to prevent England from sending convicts, though those laws were overturned by the Crown. At the beginning of the American Revolution, 1775, 1783, colonial ports virtually ceased accepting convict ships. By 1776, all right, now y'all notice when so-called America was established, around the 1775, 76 shit. All right, so then y'all know what it was all about. It's really about stopping slavery, stopping Britain and England from sending slaves in, sending them convicts in this motherfucker. So they were like, hell no, no more immigration. So this is what is really, that's what's really going on with this here. My bad, y'all. I'm kind of rushing a little bit, so I'm be doing a lot of stumbling on words, trying to push the shit on out, because I got to be up out of here. All right, it say by 1776, when the last boatload of convicts arrived on the James River, many of the convicts had served their 7 to 14 years, right, and returned to Great Britain, while a few who had become honest citizens moved to distant parts of the colony with the hope of blending in. All right, so to let you know, some of them they wanted to continue being criminals, so they took their ass back to Britain, and other ones decided to be civilized. All right, it's a beginning of the convict transportation. Between 1615 and 1699, English courts sent approximately 2,300 convicts to the American colonies. In the 1700s, prior to the end of the practice in 1776, another 52,200 or more arrived. Only about 30% of the number of white indentured servants and less than 20% number of the number of enslaved Africans and entered the colonies at the same time. All right, hold up, wait a minute. So you got the white ones and you got so-called black ones, right? And it was more white ones than black ones. Let's get that clear. And they said they entered the colonies at the same time. So we talking about Africans. Y'all know we talk about the North Africans. I would like to say we talking about the Afrikaners, the colored people, the mixed motherfuckers. That's what I would like to say. But okay, it's a 80% of the transported convicts were sent to Maryland and Virginia. So these main two spots of the approximately 41,760 convicts sent to those two colonies. All right, now, first of all, they're conflating right here. Now they're trying to say all of them was convicts when they just said all of them was not convicts. But anyway, it said Virginia received a little less than half, or about 20,000 felons. Prior to the Transportation Act of 1718, the shipment of convicts to the colonies had been conducted in a haphazard way by merchants who received them from the courts or by the convicts themselves. King James I, or the first, had begun to process in 1615 by authorizing. He said had begun the process in 1615 by authorizing the transportation of convicts who could yield a profitable service to the Commonwealth in parts abroad where it is found fit to employ them. All right, so they were sent over here to be employed, to help take it over, populate and take over your colonies, or work the colonies rather. It said by 1634, perhaps as many as 60 convicts had been sent to the colonies. By 1634, remember they say the first slave ship came over here around like 1619, something like that. It said by 1697, the process had ceased to function because colonies were refused to take convicts, and there was a dearth of merchants willing to pay to ship felons to America. All right, so merchants willing to pay to ship these convicts over here, because that's how they were getting paid. It was getting them over here and doubling up on them basically. All right, Transportation Act of 1718, an intervening war and the 1715 Scottish Rebellion prevented an immediate solution to the convict problem. But by 1718, those distractions had ceased. At the same time, the English penal system was in such a state of flux that a new solution had to be found for the increasing number of felons overrunning London. So the convicts, the felons, was taking over London, basically. All right. And for the ones who don't know, this during the same time, they had this great flood and all that kind of shit going on. There's a whole lot of shit going on there in Europe during this time, and they had to get the hell on. They say the English people were exceedingly conscious of their rights and reluctant to warehouse criminals for long periods at hard labor like slaves. They also feared giving the state so much power that their freedoms could be threatened. Moreover, city jails were so unhealthy that many inmates died from disease or starvation. The localities also lacked sufficient funds. They say the localities also lacked sufficient funds to care for the convicts, and the growth of population centers meant that the old public punishments of whipping, branding, and the pillory no longer had the effect of shaming criminals into reforming their behavior. All right, so understand that. They was branding their ass and everything. People probably heard about Charles branding a lot of the slaves, putting filth on them on their ass. And then, people always talking about the whippings and all this type of stuff. But hey, we already see what this stuff was geared towards. And it was for the purpose of shaming them into doing the right thing. It say, rather than spending money for more jails, Parliament decided to make a great financial commitment and underwrite a systematic approach to transport non-capital felons to the colonies, which resulted in the 1718 Act. Over the previous 20 years, government revenues had grown to the point where such an act had become feasible. By sending so many felons to the colonies, England could rid itself of a problem it did not want to face and avoid use of the death penalty in so far as possible. While English population had grown from less than 3 million in 1500 to more than 5 million by 1650, a similar rise in employment opportunities for the poor elements of society did not occur. Moreover, wages did not match the cost of living expenses, so that between 1/4 and 1/2 of the population subsisted in poverty. All right, what sounds like that's a reversal right now, y'all, what they got going on. Trying to place all this shit on us here. All right, but anyway, it said leaving many of them little alternative but to pilferage and thieving, or thievage, how you say that? Thieving, some shit. It's we know they're stealing though, and others and other lewdness, right? And other crimes, basically. So make a long story short with that, they were committing crimes like a motherfucker. They were poor, they weren't really getting paid that much money, and there were too many people and not enough work. They say thus, many of those arrested for crimes were guilty of trivial offenses that today would be considered petty larceny or shoplifting and would be punished by a warning, a small fine, or probation. For example, stealing some small food item or a handkerchief worth less than a shilling. So obviously they were dealing in shillings back then, it sounded like. Okay, it said by 1769, however, the English penal codes list of criminal acts that could lead to transportation had grown to 169. So 169 things you can do to get your ass sent up out of over here to America, to the colonies. And understand now, we're talking about penal colonies and all that. Penal code. All right, prisoners. The exact opposite of free. Call them indentured, whatever the fuck you want to call them, but exact opposite of free. Locked up. All right, employment of convict laborers in Virginia. Employment. Job. Of who? Convict laborers. Okay. In addition to ridding Great Britain of unwanted criminals, the 1718 Act was also intended to help the colonies with their labor problem. In Virginia, tobacco had become the main source of cash after John Rolfe shipped the first marketable harvest to Nicotiana, tobacco, to England in 1614. Tobacco is a notoriously labor-intensive crop. The steps by which tobacco is cultivated from seed to market have changed little over the centuries because most of the work does not lend itself for mechanization. All right, so you can't really use machines to deal with tobacco. Tobacco is what they're trying to say. All right, it says as the cultivation of tobacco spread, the demand for workers increased as well. In Virginia and as in Maryland, this labor demand at first was satisfied by indentured servants who came mostly from England, worked for a fixed number of years for those who paid their passage, and then became free planters themselves. All right, peak game. So the ones that had a case or whatever had to get gone, and they was able to pay for their own. Some of them even paid for their own passage and stuff to get up out of there. And the ones that did, basically, when they got up here, they was free. Mm-hmm. All right. It say was satisfied by indentured servants who came mostly from England, worked for a fixed number of years for those who paid their passage, and then became free planters themselves. Well, when somebody, in this case, when people paid for their passage over here, once they did the work they had to do, they was free, and then they became free planters. But like I said, for the first time, there are cases where people were paying their own way. You know what I'm saying? And they coming over here and bought their way up out of freedom, basically. It says, especially during the middle decades of the 17th century, crop fairs in England and Wales prompted many to leave for the New World. So just famine period. So when they went through the Great Famine and all that, they were coming over here too. So a lot of them were coming over here because they were convicts. They were just well-to-do people that just starving around that motherfucker. All right. So that's what makes a distinction too between, like they made earlier, between just regular. Anyway, let me keep going. All right, it say leave for the New World. Say later, as economic and political conditions in the mother country improved, this source of workers began to dry up and be replaced with slave labor. Between about 1607 and 1699, approximately 96,600 indentured servants entered the colonies, along with about 33,200 slaves. So right now they're trying to make a distinction between servants and slaves right here. So it might be some of the ones that, like we were saying, during the famine and all that, I guess some of these were indeed called indentured servants. But we see how they're conflating ideas at the top. See, because when you're an indentured servant, you're still basically under bondage for a certain amount of time because more likely than somebody else paying your way over here. Same thing with the slave anyway. Let me keep going. But y'all get what the hell going on though. We ain't heard about no show enough African slave trade, how they try to make it sound like yet. You know what I mean? That's the main idea of who the fuck was coming over here and what was going on and why they was coming and the time frame they was coming in. And it's all around the same time frame they say that this typical slavery was going on, but that's not exactly the truth, is what I'm trying to point out. All right. So it said between 1700 1775, these numbers grew to approximately 103,600 indentured servants and estimated 278,400 enslaved Africans, right? Look at that. Now, see how they flip-flop the number? And like I said, again, you have to know what Africans is, what enslaved versus slave, actually is. You know what I mean? Like citizens, you could just be a citizen and be enslaved like a motherfucker. Whoever take care of your food, clothes, and shelter, that becomes your master. But that's a whole lot of detail stuff I ain't really trying to go into. I'm just trying to hit y'all with the big picture. Like I said at the beginning of the video, a lot of people haven't even grasped the concept yet that so-called pale-skinned people were slaves. They don't even have that right around their mind yet. So clearly, the comparatively small number of convicts immigrating between 1607 and 1699, 2300 played a lesser role in the economic life of the colonies in the 1600s. By the 1660s, most indentured Africans, now they're talking about indentured Africans. Make up y'all fucking mind. So it say indentured Africans had generally become bound for life. In 1705, various Virginia laws passed in the later half of the 17th century were combined into the slave code, thus institutionalizing the system of African enslavement. While Virginia was home to approximately 300 Africans in 1649, hold the fuck up. Only 300, if it's them kind of Africans anyway. They say in 1649, that number grew to roughly 3,000 by 1677 to perhaps 13,000 by 1700, perhaps, right? And to about 27,000 by 1720. Despite the increasing African population, smaller planters and various tradesmen, shipbuilders, and iron manufacturers retained a need for cheap white labor. What the fuck? So you trying to say you got all these free niggas out here doing doing their free thing, huh? And that still ain't enough. So now you need some white labor still. When they just told us at the beginning that they was already sending these convicts over to these different people, these shipbuilders and all these folks. So y'all gotta peep the double talk, man. So you can box them right on in what they ain't trying to tell you. You know what I'm talking about? So that means that these Negroes was the one that running shit. If they goddamn plantation, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, the dark skinned, the melanated ones, whoever. It probably was some white ones, the pale skins too. But for the most part, oh yeah, they running things. And they needed labor and they were buying these folks. Cutting, you know what I'm saying? Making plays, buying labor, and paying them. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's what was that? I want to say I was right up in here. I'm just gonna start right here. I'm probably not. Yeah, about right there. It said, despite the increasing population of African, smaller planters and tradesmen retain white labor. I right here, white labor part, cheap white labor. Boom. Fish eyes on that now. You know, even the so-called blacks themselves was able to buy their freedom, right? Remember that? So yeah, everybody getting paid, but just some getting paid less than others. I guess except for the convicts or the people who got their passage paid for them. But I'm gonna run across a person named Miley. I think her name Miley or something like that. That finessed up. Excuse me. Damn. Finessed her way to freedom. But let's keep going though, cause I told y'all I ain't got that much time. I can add the fuck out this for hours. All right, but anyway, let's keep rolling to deal with these lies that they told it. That they told if it's a lie. All right, it said although the market price of tobacco fluctuated, it remained high enough to justify the acquisition of indentured servants or the purchase of slaves. Let me make sure my shit still, goddamn it, me rolling. I ain't on mute or nothing like that. Cool. Everything's still rolling. Yeah, because they got me like that before. All right. So it's an acquisition of indentured servants or the purchase of slaves, right? It's a using British genealogist Peter Wilson Coleham's volumes of convicts list and runaway ads, among other sources, that, to analyze the British convicts sent to Virginia. The historian Lyda C. Beto found that at least 20,000 felons arrived in Virginia between 1718 and 1775. She concluded that in spite of the past studies suggesting that the majority of felons had no skills and were employed as agricultural workers, most of the convicts she analyzed had been sentenced in the London area and surrounding counties and possessed some kind of skill. Thus, she determined that, contrary to popular belief, the felons did make a significant contribution to Virginia's labor force and were not guilty of the majority of the crimes committed in the colony. While many of the convicts, especially young, unskilled men, were put to work in agriculture for middling planters who could not otherwise afford slaves, other felons were brought by merchants, tradesmen, shipbuilders, and iron manufacturers. See, that's who was buying them when they was coming over here. And an investigation of the skills held by one shipload of convicts revealed that of 98 felons, 48 possessed no recognizable trade, 16 of them were too young to have learned a trade, and the other 32 were too old to ply one. Of the other 50, 21 had acquired low-level skills, and the other 27 were skilled in trades such as barbering, carpentering, and shoemaking. Among the Northern Neck iron manufacturers who used convict labor was John Taylor at his Nebraska Company iron mine in Prince William County. In mid-August 1766, Taylor advertised in the Virginia Gazette for the return of one of his convict laborers, Arundel Carnes, aged about 17. Taylor noted that Carnes had arrived in Virginia in April 6, 1766 and escaped escaped late in July, right? It say if dressed, Taylor noted, Carnes possessed a gentle enough appearance. While Carnes claimed to know nothing about being a doctor, he also knew how to wait on a gentleman, but would probably try to pass as a sailor and get on the ship. Taylor warned all shipmasters to beware of Carnes. He had escaped in a large canoe and perhaps headed for Maryland shore. If anyone caught Carnes and returned him to Nebraska, that person would receive 40 shillings in Virginia or 4 pistols and whatever the law allowed if he was from some other colony. Carnes' story would appear to support Beto's thesis since Carnes obviously possessed more skills than an agricultural worker. All right, so basically, motherfuckers run away with this shit, All right, I see motherfuckers. All right, so contrast ninjas. Okay, man, but y'all get the goddamn point. Slay like a motherfucker. Like I said, I ain't got time to read all the shit. But yeah, y'all go into it, y'all want to. Go get to deeper information, And I'll tell them I can go back another time, finish it off or whatever. But I'm gonna go ahead and show y'all a little video, show y'all some of the charges or whatever they was catching, and all that kind of shit. So I could probably move around. But let me see, run through this here for you. This that Maud Flanders person I was telling y'all about. How she was goddamn slave too. Let me see, I got that pulled up over here somewhere. Got all kind of shit open. Miles, where she at? Got a few things pulled up. But no, yeah, right here. Right here. Let's see. Might be right here. All right, but y'all see this picture, right? You got this slave right here that used to be a slave that pulled himself up from the bootstraps, how they say. Just her back here in situation when she was going through her servitude. So peep gang, right? It say the extended title for James Defoe's The History of Maud Flanders and Company, published in England about 1760, includes a synopsis of the main character's life of main characters, right? It's a life of a continued variety for 60 years. A prostitute and a thief in England, Flanders is repeatedly imprisoned and whipped, and only avoids a death sentence by being transported as a convict to Virginia. It's a woodcut on the title page depicts Flanders as a rich, gentle woman, while in the background she is shown in her previous life being whipped and facing the hangman's noose. This 19-page edition is condensed. Is a condensed version of Defoe's original novel, which is titled "The Fortunes and Misfortunes of the Famous Maud Flanders," 1722, and written as if it were a memoir by Flanders. All right. So anybody want to check that out? Y'all, there you go. Just trying to confirm what I'm saying. All right. So let's get this video right quick. Hey, what's going on, ladies and gentlemen? I hope everything worked this time. And that, hold on, y'all. Let me mute my mic right quick. Hope everybody good out there. Hope everybody cool. I'll be doing this video for my health. But yeah, today we're gonna be talking about these convict records. America voyage to New South Wales, Australia in 1829 with 176 passengers. All right. So the main idea is for people to understand that the Europeans were leaving or getting kicked out of Europe in one way or another as convicts or people that were just fleeing for religious reasons and just different things, right? And they was coming to Australia and America. So without further ado, let me just go ahead and start getting into this. I ain't gonna lie to y'all, man. They tried to knock the wind out me when they deleted my other video. Well, they muted me. That's what they did. Straight up muted. It was going. It was everything was good. I'm talking. This thing click, and then all my videos in my drive or whatever erased. I ain't bullshitting. If I'm lying, I'm flying. So yeah, I feel some kind of way about that. So I don't know what the deal is with that. So that's why I said I hope y'all can hear everything I'm saying. And I'm gonna try to fly through it because the last one was like an hour. So I'm trying to narrow this thing down. So yeah, we're gonna show some records right quick about some of these folks in Australia, and we're gonna connect it back to the Americas and all that type of stuff. So the people are thinking like, man, would I care about that or whatever? But it's a lot of people out there thinking that they were so-called slaves, and in actuality, they were more like prisoners of war, if anything. If there were any so-called Africans in the 13 colonies, or was it the convicts and everybody else in the colonies? Those are kind of things we will see, and we will know by the time we finish. Now, first of all, you see, convict got the description, and you got what he was convicted at. You got John Agnew, right? They said one of 176 convicts transported on America in April 1829, right? He was convicted at Glasgow Court of Justiciary, whatever you say that. Justiciary. Justiciary, that's how you say. They say, so now let me click on this so we can let you know if they show a charge or anything. But they say, okay, they got his name, no aliases. He was born 1813. His occupation is a laborer. He was a thief, okay? He had to do 7 years in America, right? The ship, on the ship America. So he departed 4th April, 1829. That's when he came to South Wales, 1829. All right. So you see that. So that's what's going on. Okay. So let's go to William Andrew. He had to go to, he was convicted at Bristol City, Session of Peace, Orient Timor, or whatever, right? William Anderson. So it's like, who are all these people? So he had a life sentence. They ain't sure he did, probably manslaughter or something. Same ship, 1829, all right? So you know your primary sources. Go to the microfilm. It says source of scripture. This is the record of one of the entries in the British Convict Transportation Registers. 1787, 1867, database compiled by State Library of Queensland from British Home Office, HO records, which are available on microfilm as part of the Australian Joint Copying Project. All right. So now we understand the flow is going on. So you see, we got names for days for you. Names for days. Charges for days. So what we got? Got Barlow, Barrett, Bates, Bell, Breeze, Brewer, whole bunch of names, Browns, Cases, Dean's, dentists, who names are they? And one thing about it, they never give a complexion. Like, what's the complexion? Are they black, white? But when you look on social media, not social media, but when you look on the internet, you click on the images and stuff like that, it clearly shows these convicts are white people. You got the Smith, Thompson on them, who stated these are their real names or whatever. Who knows what's going on? All right, but anyway, that's that. All right, so now, see, now I told y'all, look, they won't even let me display that. What it is? Remember PC? That's crazy. So I don't even know. That's crazy. Oh, they meant business. They ain't want me to even show that. That's crazy. That's super wild. I ain't know they had took something off from a jump. This shit, hold on. This shit got to be there. Let me go back. There we go. What the fuck? Yeah, they had a problem with this. Oh, they were big mad. Yeah. So that's what it is. I don't even know how they even got like that. But yeah, man. Let's get into it. Let's get into it. Because they're tripping with this here. Like I told you. I literally just did an hour and a half goddamn video. No rap cap. And I was going in. Fluent, giving them little extra little tidbits here and there to connect other shit. Oh yeah, I was boy. Oh, they said, oh hell no. We cannot let you get off. They cut me off in the first 2 minutes though, I ain't gonna lie. They clipped me early. I was going in early. They already saw what I was going with. When I pulled this up right here, they clipped me. But anyway, they say Irish convicts to New South Wales, 1788 through 1849, right? 1788 through 1849. Certain names. See, this one here is gonna let you know charges, where they came from, what they got, all that type of stuff, right? So you got Atkinson on the ship. He was 21 years old, ship Cambridge. He was tried in 1827. Trial place was Dublin, right? Came from Dublin. Got a life sentence. He was born in 1806, native place Donegal. His crime was desertion. He was single. He was a soldier. So he deserted his post or something. Didn't want to be no servant. Ran off. Then you got Bannon. He was 30. He got a life sentence for manslaughter. So he had one child, a white boy. There we go. There goes some complexion. So, but we talking about white boy. Yeah, forget about that. We're talking about the white boy societies, the white boy, the levelers, and all those boys. Yeah, I hope I don't forget to show y'all that. Yeah, let me just run through this stuff real quick, which y'all already see where we're going with this. So he was a stockman farmer man. So we go on down, the list goes on and on. Got another manslaughter, life. All right, got another manslaughter, life. He's a white boy with his brothers. All right. So same thing with these people. Let me pull it still close. Sit back a little bit. So y'all see what's going on with all that. I hope my volume is up. Excuse me. Loud enough. Okay, another man. Damn. Get a drink real quick. Drink it. There we go. But yeah, you got you see somebody that's got caught for stealing a helper. So Baxter stole a heifer. 24 years old, 26. You know, man, it's crazy because a lot of people think a person like me will be talking crazy when we say, yo, man, The mother folk were the real slaves for real. And they be like, nah, man, you tripping. I'm like, yeah, dog, I ain't tripping. I'm for real. And they just refuse to even try to understand that. And that's crazy. They just want to be the underdog for some reason. I don't understand it. Especially when the facts is in your face. There's some documentation right here that you can go get. But anyway, let's keep moving. So they from Martin. They got caught stealing a heifer or something. Okay, single, it's a Gardner, former man, Bellevue Patrick, all right, life sentence, manslaughter, okay, formers, okay, all right, so on and so forth. We got different jobs, stuff like that. You know what I mean? Laborers, serving in dog room, got a colonial sentence, you know what I mean? So you already see, you got colonial sentences, you got shoplifting, stealing lead, stealing money, stealing cab, robbing the house, you know, all these Dublin people. Whole lot of Dublin, whole lot of youngsters. 18, 22, 19, 21, 28, 18, 17, 24, 35, 33, 27, 29, 32, jits, you know, running through things. So you got the mother hand, all them stealing money, all them trying to make it with some shape. So, during this time, there was a whole lot of poverty going on, a whole lot of famine going on, a whole lot of exile going on, a lot of war going on. You got a 7-year war, 30-year war. You got, like I said, you got the famine, you got the natural disasters, all that type of stuff. Man, there was a whole lot of things going on during that time where they were trying to get right to shape back, but it wasn't that shaking. So they started trying to take over the government and all that type of stuff. Killed King Charles, and man, it was going down. Yeah, it was going down for a little minute. So it's like the ancestors of them. But as you can see, the list goes on and on. It goes on and on and on. All right. So now let's go to the next deal. So this is about convicts in Australia. It's not the same thing. We just damn. And then one thing is another. All right, now y'all gonna let me get it out. Get it out. Bring it out. They're trying to stop me from bringing it out, man. Trying to demotivate me. Oh, and after that situation happened with my computer and shit like that, when they zipped me or whatever, when I stopped the stream, I thought everything was good, so I stopped the stream, whatever. Then after that, it was like a humming sound. It was just a low humming sound, just sending through my ears, and I felt that jump. So I ain't gonna lie, I left my headphones on just a little too long. To be honest with you, I should have been took them off when I heard that sound. But I thought, oh yeah, they're trying to zap my brain. Honestly, it ain't the first time it happened either. Not to sound too far left or nothing like that, but I'm telling you now, I ain't playing. And it's always, especially when it's super duper natural and potent, is when they clip me. All right, but let's deal with these convicts in Australia. They say between 1788 and 1868, about 162,000 convicts were transported from Britain and Ireland to various penal colonies in Australia. So understand, these colonies were penal colonies. They were for prisoners, convicts, people like that. 162,000 of them. All right. So you already know what's going on. Okay. Then what the next paragraph says, it say the British government began transporting convicts overseas to American colonies in the early 18th century, right? That's early 1700s. They say when transportation ended with the start of the American Revolution, an alternative site was needed to relieve further overcrowding of the British prisons and hulks. Okay. Now, so first of all, American colonies. That's what it was coming to. Early it was 18th century. After they started, when they didn't have any more room to put them in on the colonies over here, they started sending them off to Australia and all that, which they're going to further explain. So they say the transportation ended during the American Revolution. All right, an alternative site was needed for this overcrowding. So that's when they end up sending them over there to Australia for Britain. So it's not overcrowded. They say that, well, yeah, it was overcrowded. You know what I mean? But the British prisons were overcrowded. But they're saying in America it stopped because of the American Revolution. It's like people got tired of being under control and all that, and that's when they started breaking out. All kind of stuff going on. Y'all can imagine. But yeah, let me keep going. So it says, after overcrowding the prisons, the British prisons in Hoax. Okay, now a Hoax was a Hoax. A Hoax is what? A prison ship. Understand that? So that's your slave ship right there. That's your slave ship. It's a prison ship. A prison ship, right? Often more accurately described as a prison hope, is a current or former seagoing vessel that has been modified to become a place of substantive, like I said the first time, detention for convicts, prisoners of war, or civil internees. All right, y'all. It said for convicts, prisoners of war, or civilian internees. Let's see what a civilian internee is. A civilian internee is a civilian detained by a party to a war for security reasons. Okay? Internees are usually forced to reside in intimate camps. Historical examples include Japanese American intimate camps, intimate of German Americans in the United States. What did it say? What did it say? The example of Japanese and Germans being held in the United States. And when they say we ain't doing what? World War II. What the fuck going on here? What's going on here? During World War II? So was America being attacked during World War II? But I wouldn't even lean off on that. I've been went into a whole other build. But there we go. That's a slave ship, the convict ship. And these convict ships was powered by what you call galley slaves. For the ones not familiar with that, called galley slaves. All right. So I say, okay, the attorney said, while many nations have deployed prison ships over time, the practice was most widespread in the 17th, 18th century Britain, as the government sought to address the issues of overcrowded civilian jails on land and an influx of enemy detainees from the War of Jenkins' Ear, the 7 Years' War, and the French Revolutionary and Napoleonic Wars. All right, y'all? So we know the French Revolutionary War has what's going on over here in America as well. It has something to do with us over here. They ain't showing it, but what they call it, the French and Indian War. So there were a lot of French on this side of the globe too at the time. So it transcended everywhere. You were French, you was getting down wherever you was at. And you was on the other side, you was getting down against, you was getting down on them if you could. All right, but anyway, we keep on speedballing through this show. Let's see. So I say the vessels were a common form of internment in Britain and elsewhere in 18th and 19th centuries. Charles F. Campbell writes that around 40 ships of the Royal Navy were converted for the use as prison hulks. Other hulks included HMS Warrior, which became a prison ship at Woolwich in February 1840. It said one was established at Gibraltar, others at Bermuda, the Dromedary at Argenteuil off Brooklyn in Wallabout Bay, and at Sheerness. Other hulks were anchored off Woolwich, Portsmouth, Chatham, Delfort, and Plymouth Dock, Devonport. HMS Argenta, originally a cargo ship with no potholes, was acquired and pressured into service in Belfast, Low, Northern Ireland to enforce the Civil Authorities Special Powers Act, Northern Ireland, 1922, during the period around the Irish Catholics' Bloody Sunday, 1920. A whole lot of information y'all can follow up on for people like the details. It said private companies owned and operated some of the British hulks, holding prisoners bound for penal transportation to Australia and America. All right, y'all. So you found the information on those ships, on HMS and all that. I want to say that was Cook driving it, captaining it. It says HMP Ware was used by the British as a prison ship between 1997 and 2006. Okay, so some of this stuff right there. Okay, it said during the American War for Independence, more American patriots died as prisoners of war on British prison ships than died in every engagement of the war combined. Damn. What did they say? During the American War of Independence, more American patriots died. This is ridiculous. It's never been like this before. It's a American War of Independence. More American patriots died as prisoners of war on British prison ships than died in every engagement of the war combined. Say during the war, 11,500 Americans on board British prison ships died due to overcrowding, contaminated water, starvation, and disease on ships anchored in the East River. It said the bodies of those who died were hastily burned along the shore. This is now commemorated by the prison ship Martyrs Monument in Fort Greene Park, Brooklyn, in New York City. Y'all hear what the fuck did y'all hear what they just said? Bro, let me find out you can really go get some super duper crucial primaries on all this, man. Let me find out. Well, they say they burnt these people on the side of the shore. That's what they say. So you mess around and be walking around down there, and you actually might be stepping on bones and ligament, man, for real. Ashes of it anyway. Super crazy, huh? Think you got a little rock or something, you picking up a tooth or something, man. So I'm telling you now, that's crazy. Right? It said, due to overcrowd, East River, said the body's okay. It said, this is not commemorated by the prison ship's Martyrs Monument of Fort Greene, Brooklyn, New York City, all right? It said, what? It said, sure. Hold on, what did it say? It said, the monument is in New York. That's what this is. So all you New York people that might not know what this for, which I'm sure I might know, but that's what it's about. It said, the prison ship's Martyrs Monument is a war memorial at Fort Greene Park in New York, City Borough of Brooklyn. It commemorates more than 11,500 American prisoners of war who died in captivity aboard 16 British prison ships during the American Revolutionary War. I'll be down. So that's common knowledge that I ain't know. But yeah, so put two and two together. Yeah, see how they work. All right, so now I want to go through all that. Okay, now let's deal with this real quick. Get another little pointer. Because remember, the main idea is about Europeans being brought to the colonies and all that. That's what it's all about right now. This whole idea. All right. I really apologize, y'all. About clear my throat. Okay, this is the McIntyre Clan Association. It's the McIntyre Clan. All right. So they're gonna give a couple of key points that I want to highlight. So it said the association was formed in 1917. The association is composed of the descendants of Malcolm McIntyre, a Scottish prisoner of war, captured with his brothers Philip and Robert at the Battle of Dunbar. Okay, Dunbar, September 3rd, 1950. That's the key right there. And Scottish prisoner of war is another key. and also they didn't in 1650. So this is before this other group of these convicts and all that. This is different from them. So these people came first to these colonies and penal places and all that. But I think most of these people came to the Americas, to be honest with you. But let's get into a little more information of what they said about it. So it says for 1917, okay, it's the Battle of Dunbar. Okay, say they survived weeks of abuse, imprisonment, starvation, and disease, and then with 150 other prisoners were transported across the North Atlantic in winter to the New England colonies, where they served out 6 to 8 year indentures before becoming free and beginning new lives. Mickham settled in York, Maine around 1668 to 1670. So now understand that this group of people that was revolting in wherever they were at, right? They revolted, got sent over here to the New England colonies. They had 6 to 8 years to do, did they bid, and they were freed, right? And they were freed. So that means by uh by 1657, 1660, all of them was free as a bird. So that's when you get these other people coming in, these other immigrants, there's convicts and all that type of stuff. But guess who running the colonies? The former convicts or prisoners of war, actually, that were already in royal position on the other side of the Atlantic, and probably had formed good relationships, had children, all type of stuff that were actually native to this land, as far as like born wise, birth wise. But anyway, let me just keep on going. Okay, it said the association is dedicated to researching, preserving, and publishing information about the life and those descendants to the definitive character, so on and so forth with that. So now I want to read this part. This is the part right here. You can see my cursor. It says descendants of Mickham McIntyre, a Scottish Highlander, deported by Oliver Cromwell after the Battle of Dunbar, September 3rd, 1650, and settled at York, Maine about 1668. Okay, now it says Highlander, right? Deported by Oliver Cromwell. So many people are familiar with Cromwell and his involvement in history to bring a little solidification. But I'm just coming from the back end with it to show y'all what's really going on, dealing with these ships and who was actually the people that was coming over here and being shipped off. And a lot of people know that Cromwell was sending a lot of people down to the Caribbeans and all kind of places. So they were just dumping the castaways off on other land masses, basically. Yep, and creating their own jurisdiction and form of governments and all that based on what they were already used to, accustomed to, and had them conforming to it until they began to rebel and revolt. And then you had some people that wanted to keep the system the same way it was, and you had other people that didn't want to. Then you had these people were actually being sold when they was coming over here. They were being sold to people as well. So like all the people that already had their farms and all that, they needed labor, needed help. They were buying these people, and so when you get the Emancipation Proclamation of Emancipation, y'all know what I'm talking about, the Civil War and all that type of stuff with Abraham Lincoln supposedly was freeing the slaves and all that stuff. You see why, and see what they're talking about, what's going on with that. Okay, so now let's keep on moving. So y'all get the grasp what I'm saying with that. I think wrong thing. So that's the articles or whatever. Oh yeah, that's what I point out too. So yeah, man. So get like the McIntyre family style. They established their own clan. Read that part. Go back. Go here. Right. It says the McIntyre Clan Association is a registered 501c3 nonprofit organization. Right. and then a copy of the bylaws and all that. It was adopted in 1973, and then that's bylaws and everything that you saw. So yeah, they're giving a blueprint on how to, do your thing. Okay, then let's see what this is. Now, let's deal with the Battle of Dunbar real quick because that's a pretty important battle. All right, so let's go ahead and run through this, and that's going to be almost it for the most part. I know there's a couple more things I might need to show y'all. I forget what it was. I said I didn't want to get off here before I show you too. I forget, but just deal with what I know I got to show you right now. So we're on the Battle of Dunbar. All right. It's after the execution of King Charles I in January 1649, all eyes turned to his son Charles to continue defending his crown. In June 1650, Charles landed in Scotland, where he was proclaimed King Charles II. Almost immediately, the new king started to gather an army led by Sir David Leslie, a cavalry officer and general who had fought in the English Civil War, the Scottish Civil War, and had been a professional soldier during the 30 Years' War. He had previously fought with the parliamentary forces from 1644 and had won the day at the Battle of Marston Moor, all right, leading a cavalry charge that had defeated the Royalists. Okay, so it is where the Moors and other people was getting defeated and all that type of stuff. See, now my other computer is coming on by itself. Shit getting crazy. No plug in it, no nothing. The other day, my wife said her window just came down. Sunroof area goddamn thing. Yeah. But anyway, yeah, I got two computers right here. One computer was off and it just came on, started doing a little search thing, and I just went back off and started talking about it. Shit crazy. I was trying to turn it on earlier, it wouldn't come on as if it was dead. But now all of a sudden it's going to pop on. I told y'all I'm dead ass serious when I said I did this video earlier. And they erased my video. I mean, they muted my video and deleted all my videos. It's on my computer. I ain't bullshit. All kind of shit. It was on there. So what shit I can't even remember. I'm damn pissed off. But anyway, let me keep going. It's the Scottish Covenanter government had changed sides. Oh shit, hold on. Now I say the Scottish Covenanter government had changed sides in the English Civil War. English Civil War, that's pretty interesting to look up too. That's very important. And we're now supporting the Royalists. So they switched sides. They backed Charles as they thought he would help them impose their Presbyterian religious ideals on both England and Scotland. So Leslie now found himself leading a Covenanter. Somebody were fucking me up today. Army aiming to restore Charles to the English throne. All right. They said the English parliamentarians had long suspected that the Scots would invade because of the anger at the execution of King Charles I. Like, yeah, I know y'all get some get back. So when they heard news of his son landing in Scotland, the English launched a preemptive invasion of Scotland, led by Oliver Cromwell. See, that's where Oliver come in at. So like, yeah, I know y'all want smoke. And so when the son came, they stole off on him first. Is what it sounded like to me. It said Cromwell gathered a veteran force of around 15,000 men made up of horse and foot. These were very experienced and well-equipped professional soldiers from the new model army, okay? Cromwell led his army over the border at Berwick upon Tweed and headed towards Dunbar, the only port town between Berwick and Edinburgh. Once held, Dunbar would operate as a base of the English forces with supplies arriving via sea. Leslie had gathered a force that outnumbered the English by almost 2 to 1. However, leadership of the Scottish army was dominated by the Kirk Party. The Kirk Party would only allow strict covenanters or covenanters, what the fuck, I don't know how to say that shit. It just fucked my tongue up. It says covenanters to fight for Scotland and remove over 3,000 experienced officers and experienced soldiers who were replaced with raw recruits. Keen to avoid a pitched battle, Leslie decided to fight a defensive campaign, preferring instead to station his forces behind strong fortifications around Edinburgh. By the end of August, Cromwell had still not been able to lead Leslie into a pitched battle, and due to illness, bad weather, and a lack of supplies, Leslie ordered a scorched earth policy, the destruction of all crops and removal of all livestock from around Edinburgh. Cromwell decided to pull back to Dunbar and the supply fleet. Okay, so what he did, he got rid of all the food and all that type of stuff. I guess that's how they went into a famine around that time as well. Things got bad. It was hard for him. So he said, I can't get you one way, I'm gonna get you another. So he felt like he couldn't really defeat him like that. So he said Leslie saw his opportunity and marched around Dunbar to cut off Cromwell's retreat via land and occupied Doon Hill, overlooking Dunbar. This only left the option of evacuating via sea. But since Leslie was now offering a pitched battle, Cromwell, although at a disadvantage, decided to stay and fight. Because the Church of Scotland was financing the Scots arm and did not want to waste funds during a prolonged standoff, Leslie was under pressure to finish the battle as soon as possible. There you go. So it looked pretty mulatto-ish or something like that to me. That afro with them curls, huh? With what they say with that volume, that's something going on there. So that's Sir David Leslie right there, Lord Newark. On September 2nd, 1650, Leslie moved his armies down Doon Hill and began to approach Dunbar. These movements were observed by Cromwell, who realized there was an opportunity to turn the tables. The Scots positioned themselves in an arc along a stream, Bronx Burn, which passed through a deep ravine towards level ground closer to the coast on the Scottish right flank. What they say? On the Scottish right flank, a position that left the century and left flank with little room to maneuver. All right, so they had no room to maneuver with the position that they were taking. As they had done on the 3rd of September, the English attacked, concentrating their efforts on the right flank and disrupting them by pushing them into the constricted century and left flanks. Under the weight of the assault, the Scots' right flank collapsed, and the soldiers began to break and flee the battlefield. During the 2-hour battle, between 800 to 3,000 Scots were killed and 6,000 to 10,000 taken prisoner, with the English losses reported as just 20 and 60 wounded. Well, 20 killed and 60 wounded. Yeah, right. Okay. Following the battle, Cromwell was able to march to Edinburgh, where he was eventually able to capture the capital following the defeat of the castle. Prisoners were forced marched towards England to prevent any attempt at rescue and imprisoned in Durham Cathedral. So they was imprisoned in a church, okay? The cathedral. Conditions on the march and in the prison was terrible. Of the reported 6,000 prisoners, 5,000 were marched south, resulting in a loss of 2,000. A further 1,500 died whilst in captivity, and the majority of the survivors sold into slavery. There we go. More died as a result of capture than on the battlefield. Sound familiar? Sound like the Americans. Same thing on the boat. The English victory at Dunbar against forces loyal to Charles II was down to tactical flair, exploiting the terrain and the experience of the new model army. With numbers against them, they still managed to grab a great victory. Dunbar was also a significant victory for Oliver Cromwell. It played an important role in its rise to political power. Okay, pretty interesting, huh? So now, who was those people being kicked out? Who was those people defending the Charles? That's the Jacobites and all them people. That's what was going on during that time. The Jacobite revolt. You know, I'm trying to tell you. Alrighty then. Let's see what I'm going to next. To run through for y'all. I think that might have been it for the most part. I know it was something else I wanted to show you. Can't quite grasp what it was. I don't know. What was it? I know it was something. I said I'm gonna go back and I said I'm trying not to forget what was that. But I hope that was enough information for y'all, man, to really lock down my point though, as far as like who was coming over here, what was going on, why it was happening for the most part. You enough bullet points. But please follow up. Go do your own research if you really want to know what's going on. But if you don't, then okay, that's fine too. Well, all I'm saying is I'm just getting you bullet points. This is from the Historic UK. That's what it's from. Historic UK, the History and Heritage Accommodation Guide. So I don't know how credible it is, but it matched up with the other information that I pulled up and the so-called primaries that came from Australia, clearly letting you know that people were being sent to Australia and American colonies, and that the colonies, uh, the New England colonies, held the first group of people that came during the 1600s, right? And all that. So around 1850s and stuff like that, that's when you get these politics and get these free white people. All right, but anyway, like I say, the first video was like an hour long, so I still chopped it down. I think I cheated y'all a little bit as far as like things I can add in and all, but at the same time, I probably did y'all some justice so that y'all can get on about y'all day and get the main idea. And yeah, I'll get with y'all next time. Peace. I'm muted like a motherfucker. Yeah, I say I thank everybody for coming through, checking me out, and everybody that's gonna check it out later on. The main idea of this video was just to show that for sure, no doubt about it, there were white Europeans over here as convicts being put to work. You know what I mean? They call them Africans or whatever too, or whatever the case, hey, that's neither here nor there. Like I say, the main idea is to show the contrast. All right. And on top of that, to show the time frame, which what around like what they say, the 1700s, 1800s, shit like that. So that's around the same time, but the so-called America was established, 1776, all the type of shit, right? So it'll give you another insight on why this so-called United States was being established and for who was being emancipated, all this type of thing. Who the contract law was formed for. There's a lot of shit to think about. And when I showed y'all the video about how in Virginia and South Carolina, who owned the most so-called slaves? Go figure, right? I'm just saying, you got to think. Then we get dealing with what act they call that shit. I think it's called the Manhood Suffrage Act or something like that. It was letting you know that that's when they started giving white folks the opportunity to vote and shit like that, without having land. So who owned all the land then? For that to be a big deal for them, like, hey man, we should be able to represent the country or whatever, whether we're landowners or not, and stuff like that, right? They said all that. And then that's when they got the right to vote without land. I think it's around 1750, some 1850, some shit like that, some dumb shit like that. And then that's when they started taking over. Having the poll rise. I'm just giving y'all bullet points. I gotta get the fuck up out of here. I ain't gonna bullshit with you. But they had the poll rise. And that's when the first games came about with the rip raps and motherfuckers like that. Man, this shit crazy as fuck. Then we just look at them time frames. You're like, oh, what the hell going on? So the first game was white folks, and as quiet as kept, a lot of stuff going on in New York. I'm just being honest. So the same rhetoric that we hearing right now from those guys, the same shit that was going on back then. They were the ones that was getting fucked up, being attacked, and they always needed our help. I'm just saying. Hey, salute to the chat out there, man, for real. Shout out to everybody out there. Just trying to push through this shit. I see J-My out there, see my boy Red Squid. I want to say that's Wayne out there. You know what I mean? What's happening, Wayne, Moon Faye? Yeah, what's happening, y'all? No doubts about it. But yeah, I just wanted to point that out, man, that it shouldn't be no military secret. We smart as fuck, so we should be able to put this shit together with no problem. And so another thing the fact is for us to understand that you shouldn't really have to ask for permission to do shit. Now, when you really just look at how things set up, it's like, hey, man, it should be evident that you should just rock how you rock, do what you do, organize how you organize, kick it with who you kick it with, being free, man, and respecting public agreement on what's right and what's wrong, so to speak. There's a public understanding that, hey, you shouldn't go around here killing people just for no reason, or doing this other folk for no reason, doing that, doing this and that. It's an understood thing that you should be able to do what you want to do within the privacy of your own home and property rights. And I don't really know what to say. But like I said, though, the main idea of this video is to set the record straight, so it shouldn't be no military secret that, yeah, the people were slaves. Everybody know it. And yeah, the indigenous dark-skinned people did have all the land, did own all the land, and we got fucked over. That's what I was talking about, doing them goddamn poll rise and shit. Look into them poll wars. Like people was really getting murked trying to vote. For real. It wasn't no game. It was a whole gang of these motherfuckers. And if you think about rip raps and shit, or rap rips, like what the fuck? They talking about rappers and all this shit, man. This how you get the don't start me lying. But it's a whole lot of little gang that formed during that time, and politicians was hiring these people. Is what I'm trying to tell y'all. That's how the Democrats really got their thing got off, and fucked over the Republicans. They were sending people to kill motherfuckers at the polls, man. No bullshit, But right now I'm just just talking, just trying to get y'all the face me. Boom, let y'all see me, goddamn it. Feel the vibe or whatever the fuck, you know what I mean? Everybody want to be know a motherfucker nowadays. They want to see your face. They want to feel like they know you and be a part of, man. Crazy as hell. But fuck it. You know what I'm saying? Hey, but I hope everything was good. I hope y'all got something out of what I was saying. I hope it leads y'all to more research. So I hear y'all kicking that shit out here. Y'all can really hit these bitches across the head, whatever you got, and add whatever you got to it. And just quit being a goddamn victim, man. For real. If I ain't trying to do nothing else, boy, I'm trying to let you know, boy, you're going to have to stand on your own 2 feet regardless. And you can't let nobody fuck you over, man. For real. Like, fuck all that. You was at the bottom and they on the top, and you can't get on top because you on the bottom and they keeping you down there. And I don't rock with that kind of shit. You know what I mean? That sounds like a pity party to me. I ain't never rock with them kind of folk. You know what I'm saying? He like people from the goddamn ghetto. Everybody I know from the hood don't feel like they oppressed though. They feel like, nah, I need to save my goddamn money, or I need to quit drinking, or I need to quit doing this, and I need to quit doing that, and I need to stack my bread, and I need to find a hustle. You know, ain't nobody fucking whining around that motherfucker. Shit, the shit they get from the government, they finessing that. Shit, them crackers done fucked around and gave me $1,000 worth of stamp. Ooh, I'm finna make 600 off this. He goddamn stamp, cash money. Finna go goddamn take these 600 and go make a move over here, make a move over here. Oh, these 600 look like 1,200 now. These 1,200 look like 24. And these 24 like 5 racks. And, oh, they done hit me with another 1,000 that month. And people grinding around this bitch, man. Like, I don't know what y'all think going on. I don't know what people think going on. And that's why they hating. That's why they hating. You should see the look on them folks' face when them people from the hood in Walmart with 2-3 goddamn baskets worth of goddamn food, pulling up motherfuckers, man. What the fuck? They look like, goddamn. Give me some of that food, man. They got their little half a basket looking at you crazy. And they fresh as fuck and all that shopping. You know, people got a problem with that kind of shit. You know what the hell y'all think going on? Like the people on the bottom, they know who on the bottom and who on the top. Look around. There's way more poor white people than it is poor black people, just by the numbers, right? Don't they say it's, what they say is 60-something%? I don't know the real number, but there's a whole lot of white folk compared to black folk, as they say, right? They say it's only what, 1% of rich motherfucker, 10%, some shit like that. So they listen to everybody else poor as fuck. So if the population is more of other people, then it's more poor people of the other kind than it is us. I'm just saying, sometimes you got to use your brain. Shit, if motherfucker beat you, but if I tell you, boy, if motherfucker put that talk game on you and goddamn it, and make you think they're gonna do you wrong, goddamn, before they even have to goddamn do the first action, they got you already. I could just tell you anything, and you just gonna believe it. I got to say, hey, I'm your master, and you're my servant. You're like, okay. Then you start getting your ass orders, and you just go start doing it. Who fault that is? You know? But I think that's it though, man. Like I said, I'm going to get up out of here. Y'all have a grand one. For real though. And one more time to the chat and everybody out there in the world. Like I say, stand up or lay down. Peace.